Hi everyone, I am working with the lighting currently and I have actually tried to film this video a couple times over this weekend, the course of this weekend, so this will probably be filmed in multiple parts at different times. This is not a witchy video, so I'm not going to be talking about anything really witchy in this video. It's all about, as the title will say, coloring books and various different things that I use for coloring. I am not starting a coloring channel. I have no interest in doing so, but a lot of you have requested, those of you who also color, that you'd like to see my coloring books, questions about them, and so I thought I would just make one video doing this, talking about various coloring books I've shown and some witchy hauls, and kind of like giving a jumping off point for those of you who wanted that. So that's what this video is. I have an extensive collection. I'm a Taurus. Also, I am not, I'm going to think about how I want to say this. I tend to choose a very specific style of coloring book, and I order a lot from overseas because of the style that I like. So these coloring books are not a typical colorist's coloring books, and I tend to prefer portraiture, and I really love grayscale. I also do line art as well, but I really like grayscale. So you'll see that, much like the decks that I prefer, I tend to like coloring books that are similar to that. So the ones that I get, a lot of them are from overseas and are on the pricier side, but I am going to show you quite a few from Amazon today as well, if you're just getting started with coloring, or if you want to start with a more inexpensive option and see if you like coloring portraiture. So in a few moments, when I start showing you the coloring books, I'm going to start with more typical coloring book styles that we would think of when we think about adult coloring, some mandalas and some doodling coloring books. But I don't have a lot of that, and I'm also not going to show you my entire collection because, as you can see behind me, I've been going through the coloring books this morning in preparation for this. And all of those back there I'm not going to show you, and there's a lot more back there, as you can see. I have a lot of coloring books. I've been coloring for a while. I started again once Vincent started coloring. It's something that we do together, and so you'll see in the coloring books that there are quite a few where Vincent has helped me or is working on his own pages in the coloring books. I also pull my finished coloring pages out of my books for the most part, especially the cheaper quality books, and I keep them all together. So I'm going to show you a few of those that I have done, but you'll see most of my coloring books don't have a lot of finished pages because I tend to pull those out when I finish with them. And I'm going to talk for a moment about different mediums. So you can see, and because I've gotten a lot of questions about this, I just need a sip of tea, guys. So I work with multi-mediums. I work with primarily colored pencils, which most people do. And if you're starting on your coloring journey with adult coloring books, then you definitely, I would encourage you to start with colored pencils. If you are on a budget, Crayola is actually a good option. Vincent and I use his Crayola colored pencils all the time, and we have good experiences with them. I would recommend not starting with a watercolor colored pencil. I would recommend starting with the wax-based color pencils that you typically see, like Crayola. Prismacolors are my favorite to use that are in my budget range. There's also, oh my god, I have a set of them and now I can't think of the name of them. Faber-Castell, there we go. The Faber-Castell colored pencils are also really popular. They are not my favorite to use. You have to apply different type of pressure when you use those as opposed to the Prismacolors. The Prismacolors just work best for me because I'm someone who likes to layer color. I also use Copics alcohol based markers, and I will show you as we're looking at some of the coloring books that alcohol based markers do transfer to the other side of the page, so you need to be careful about that. I really love using watered down acrylics for backgrounds. This panda from Kirby Rosanna's book, this is watered down a red acrylic as my background. And then you can see that I haven't finished this one still, guys. But these colored pencils are being used for the doodle portion of the coloring book. And this is an example of a large space, this is Vincent and I working on this together, as you can see, a large space that's colored in with just colored pencil. So you see how you get the shading lines, whereas with the acrylic, you don't have that. It's a nice flatly colored surface. So watered down acrylics are my favorite, and you can get bottles of acrylic color paint in like at Walmart for like 99 cents. And it's a really big bottle. You're going to be watering that down. That lasts you forever. That's very reasonable. Paintbrushes are also reasonably priced. When you start, I'd recommend getting like a kit. And then as you get more comfortable and you can really like fine tune the type of paintbrushes you want, then you want to go to an art supply store. And that's when I would invest. But I'd start with something smaller to see how you feel about it. Watercolor is also an option for mediums to use with colored pencil, as well as pastels. And you can, if you're interested in that, you can explore. There's like a million channels on YouTube about this. So you have lots of options. Again, I'm just giving you an overview. This isn't a chance. I'm not going to devote a whole lot of energy to this because this is my hobby. This is something I do when I need to unwind and unplug and relax. It's very peaceful for me. So I'm not going to start a channel working with that. My channel is based on spirituality and the pagan path and tarot. So you can explore lots of options with those. I will put links below for some of my favorite YouTubers to follow to learn how to do certain things. I do have an added benefit that my mother is an extremely gifted artist. While she's no longer in my life, when I was a child, I was around her work, and she worked with oil paints, and she did sculptures with stone and all kinds of things like that. So I was raised in an environment where these types of mediums were used, where there's an understanding of shade and layering and contrast, etc. So if you want to, you can really study this and it can be a craft. If you just want it to be fun, then you also don't have to go down that route. But there's lots of things that you can learn in developing your ability with coloring in your coloring books if you want to. So let's see, is there anything else I want to say? Paper quality, before I get started with talking about this. Much like card decks, paper quality matters here. This is why investing in more expensive coloring books as you travel along your course with coloring, you're going to find that that starts to become really worth it for you, and it's an investment that you want to make. The cheap books that you can get on Amazon tend to have like copier paper, quality paper. That is really difficult to layer colored pencil with, and it's also very flimsy, so using watered down acrylics or watercolor as your background becomes difficult. It becomes tricky. So these are things to be aware of. You know, you have to be careful of what's on the other side of your page if you're okay with losing that drawing, because in some cases you will, especially if you have cheaper paper. So higher quality paper is going to interact differently with your mediums as well. So it's always nice to do a test page, etc. Again, if this is just something you want to be enjoyable and you don't want to exert or expend a lot of energy on it, then just have fun and realize you're going to lose some of the pages in the coloring book. You might be buying 2 copies at a certain point if you really love a certain coloring book. And you'll see as I talk about this, Xan Vaughn's coloring books, I have multiples of all of her coloring books because Vincent and I love them so much. That's been worth it for us to have multiples. So I'm just looking down because I have everything down here. All right. So I'm going to start with the style that I don't, the type of coloring books that I don't use a great deal other than to color with Vincent for Kirby Rosanis because that's his favorite colorist. But you might find that this style speaks to you, in which case go for it and explore it. And if you're someone that just wants to get your Crayola colored markers out, which are also a wonderful medium for coloring, and in no way knocking that, then you might really feel like, okay, this is what I want to color. I don't want to get into the in-depth shading and layering and portraiture and skin tone and all of that good stuff that comes along with the more complicated coloring books. This is the only mandala book that I actually use. I have one other one back there, but I really don't like it and I don't want to show it because I don't really want to recommend it. This is a spiritual coloring book of enchanted mandalas by Alina Shaylev. I'm sorry. And it's not a Christian spiritual, it's a Zen spiritual one, so there's lots of sacred geometry in it, etc. So you can see that I colored the first 2 mandalas. This is super relaxing, super easy, and for me, typically a little too basic for me, but when I'm super stressed, as you can see 2 times over I've had this for probably 2 years, I've colored on 2 of them and I didn't feel a need to take them out of the book. These are alcohol-based markers. So there's Copics. Copics is extremely expensive. That's high-end. I would start with an Amazon knockoff brand, see if you like alcohol-based markers, and then move on to Copics. But you can see that it bled through to the other image. So now I can't do the image on this side. So you have to be okay with losing your image and just doing the Copic marker on the chosen page. So you can see I lost my other one on that side. But just to give you an idea of what you're going to be getting from this book, I'm pretty sure you can get this on Amazon still. It's super cheap. These are very, like, you can put on your favorite show, you're feeling stressed, bam, you've got this. It's a great option. So very simple, like there's a lady in yoga pose. You'll see lots of that. Here's an example of, here's Star of Metatron. This is a fuller style. So you just have to be okay with losing the artwork on the other side of your page. If you want to use alcohol-based markers, colored pencils work great for this. Water-based markers like Crayola's kids markers, those will still bleed through on this. But those are also a great option for you as well. So this is like the only mandala book that I enjoy. So now I'm going to talk about Kirby and there's 2 other artists that I'll talk about briefly before I move into my really, really favorite ones. So Kirby Rosales has a whole Morpheus series. There's like 5 or 6 books in the series. They're all great, with the exception of the last 2 are not my favorite. However, the first one of the Phantomorphia, Vincent, my son, absolutely adores, and most of that book he has colored. It's the only one where he's colored most of it. But so this is Imagimorphia. This is the one I showed you, the acrylic background. I'm not going to do a flip through of that because I'm only going to flip through one of these, or this video is going to be like 5 hours long, guys. So Mythomorphia is my personal favorite of all of Kirby's. It's all mythical creatures, and he has a compendium in the back that lets you know the name of the different creatures, so if you're wondering and you want to do some research. And he also does these little search things, so for each picture there's like different, each drawing I should say, there's different pieces for you to explore. And you can see that every aspect of this book has something that you can color, including the beginning and the intro. Okay, so yeah. Move this down a little bit. That's not really going to help, is it? Let's see. It's a little bit easier. Okay, so there's our first mythical creature. This is a work in progress that I started probably about a year ago, last summer, and I still haven't finished it. So you can see that you can get really in-depth with this. I'm not going to show you everything, but you'll see where I've tested certain things. Like here I was testing different, when I first got my Prismacolors, I was testing for the mushrooms here. There's a green man, so if you are witchy, if you're someone who identifies as a witch, Kirby's doodle coloring books are awesome for that. So I love these. I can't wait to work on that. So this is, the animals, creatures are not typically my thing, but I love Kirby's style, and my son loves coloring his stuff. So as you can see, we do, well, not from this one, but from others, there's lots more. This one I tend to save for really big projects that I want to work on for a while. Let's see if I have any. This is one Vincent's working on, as you can see. This is the one Vincent and I work on together. So coloring can be a nice thing to do with family members too. They don't have to be little. This is a finished piece. As you can see, Vincent helped me with the tail part. Let me just come closer so you can see that. So it's also a great way to connect with each other as a family. It's really fun mapping out the projects, you know, like colors you want to use. Here's a little one I've done a little bit of work on. Things you want to do, etc. When I first started, I was really strict with myself about finishing pieces, and I found that that really sucked for me. Here's one that's not completed. You can see this is colored pencil in the background. I was just starting to explore different options with coloring and getting really serious about it. And so now I would use watered down acrylic for that, but I didn't for this piece. This is all colored pencil and all shading with colored pencils here. So I'll just get a little bit closer so you can see. And when, oh, I love this Cerberus one. I can't wait to do this one. There's one that's amazing in here, guys. Hold on. This is going to be a long chatty video, so I really love coloring. I just enjoy it. Look at the Minotaur. Oh, isn't that awesome? Let's see. There's one in here that I am waiting until I get really, really good with my ability to shade with in contrast. This werewolf, I cannot wait to do this, but I really want to do like a kick-ass job. I might actually get another copy of this coloring book so that if I mess up, I have a backup. I love this image. So this is Kirby Rosanis. His books are really inexpensive and very affordable on Amazon. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. I'm just going to come back up here. I'm going to show you one more before I have to stop this, and then I will be back in a few minutes. So this is a slightly different style that Vincent picked out. It's the Color Me Enchanted book. It's all fairy tales. It is by 2 artists whose names I cannot pronounce, but the book is called Color Me Enchanted. If you look it up on Amazon, I think I got it on sale for like $6. Just so you get an idea. This is a little bit different. It's not quite portraiture, but it's got flowers. So most people tend to prefer like mandalas and flowers and geometric patterns and things like that when they color, as you can see here. I am not super huge into that, although I do have some options for myself if I'm in that mood, as you can see. But so there's Alice in Wonderland. Vincent, like you can see, he just barely started coloring this. He's so funny. He wanted this book and then he really didn't color in it too much. But I do have some options for myself, but these tend to be typically what you see, like lots of floral options, lots of repeating patterns, things like that. I tend to like the darker coloring books and portraiture, etc. I will show you one more. This is Daria's Song. This is a Mysterious Mansion, which is actually multi craft. It's not just a coloring book. There's mazes, there's Sudoku, there's dot-to-dot, coloring pages, hidden pictures, and games. So this is not a typical coloring book. But I wanted to show this one because Daria's feel is very much like this, and so if you feel drawn to this, you'll want to explore her other options. I have one other coloring book of hers that I have not purchased that's on my to-be purchase list, but this is the idea of this is it's like a Pandora's box, and you have to move through it, and so this is really fun to do with a partner, a child, or a family member, or a friend, and you guys can work together on solving all the puzzles, or just doing it yourself if that feels good for you. But there's lots of grayscale in here. You move through different mazes. It's really, really pretty. So this one, and this was really inexpensive on Amazon as well. I think I paid like 13 bucks for it. There's a coloring page, clockwork. She does a lot of clockwork pieces. So this is something that I don't have a lot of this style, but I think this is a beautiful book. And it's one that actually I would gift to a few of my friends, even those who aren't colorists, that I think that they, I think they might enjoy that. Okay, so I'm going to move into now things that are more indicative and evocative of my own coloring style. Before I do that part, I'm going to show you some finished pages of like portraiture style so that you can see kind of my aesthetic, where I'm coming from as a colorist, and why I have a certain style of book. And then if that doesn't gel or jazz, or that's not your jam, You know, you can look at different options, but this will at least give you a jumping off point, give you some ideas of what you can do with coloring, and give you some ideas about quality of paper and the difference that it makes. So these next two coloring books are some more inexpensive options that are more in line with typically the type of coloring book that I prefer. So this is Hannah Lynn. This is her Tattoo Darlings. She has like a lot of different steampunk options. This is one that I colored but haven't taken out yet. These are fun because they're not overly illustrated. It's just kind of straight up what they are. And it's also actually really nice that they're one-sided for the reasons that I said earlier. This really lets you get lipstick on my book. That's great. This lets you use whatever type of medium you want. Now, because the coloring book is like $9 or something like that, the paper quality is like copy paper. There might be one other one I colored in here. Hold on. Yep. This is a pirate with a kraken tattoo on her arm. So again, the paper quality is pretty flimsy and thin. If you're going to be using like watercolor or something like that, it's probably going to pill immediately. You might be able to get away with diluted acrylic. And you can see as well that the colored pencil doesn't take as dark. So you can see I've done some shading here. But this was like a maroon color, and it came off really light in this. So just be aware, you know, again, depending on, and I'm actually not finished with her yet. I haven't done her hair yet. I just realized that. Depending on the type of colored pencil you're using, you know, you're gonna have to be aware of the pressure exerted on the paper so that the paper's not getting burnished or ruined. But so this is Hannah Lynn's Tattoo Darlings. This one's a lot of fun. And another really inexpensive option are Grimm Fairy Tales adult coloring books. These do contain some adult imagery, so you know, you may not want to do this coloring book with your kids or whatever. It doesn't bother me at all, but for some people it does. This is a diluted acrylic base, and as you can see, I didn't have too much warping of the paper. It's a little bit warped there, but not too bad. This also isn't done. This is Little Red Riding Hood. So this one is like, oh, there's another, I didn't realize I started that one. There's another one. So these are, there's like kind of there's some mandala pages on here, but these are like Grimm Fairy Tales reimagined by various artists. So if you're looking for it on Amazon, you just type in Grimm Fairy Tales adult coloring book. There's quite a few. There's like I think three or four maybe. And I have all of them, but this is the one that I color in the most. So there's another mandala there. It's the Bandersnatch and Alice, I believe. And these are one-sided as well, which is, again, really nice for whatever kind of medium you're going to be doing. I like this one, actually. Looking forward to working on coloring that. So this is a nice kind of cheaper introduction to see if this is the type of coloring that you want to do. Because if you don't, then you're not going to want to invest in some of the more expensive ones that I have. So before I start talking a little bit more about finished work and what my style is, etc., with the more expensive books, I'm just going to finish out a few others that you can get on Amazon for a relatively inexpensive price. So these are the Hannah Zahn books. They're beautiful. They're like $13 tops on Amazon. The paper quality is gorgeous. The style is very, as you can see, one side Vincent colored and I'm working on the other side with him. The paper style is, the paper quality is wonderful. She has quite a few books, so you have lots of options to explore if you like hers. She does a lot of jewels and quartz crystals and tattooed ladies. Let's see. and moths and owls and things like that. So this is like a nice in-between because you've got a lot of, it's not all portraiture, some animals, some jewelry, lots of pretty things like that, and they have kind of like a witchy, bohemian feel to them. This one's really pretty. This side right here. So this is Hannah Carlzon. I have 2 of hers, but she's got like 4 to 6 of them out there, I think, and they're all well worth the price. Again, really nice hardcover book, and they last really well, and the paper quality is really nice for the price. So these Hannah Carlzon I recommend, especially if you are going to start exploring other options. So now Blue Angel Gallery, the Blue Angel Publishing, I mean, same ones that do a lot of our Oracle decks that we like, also have Raven Feelin's Dragons and a series of Jasmine Beckett Griffith coloring books. That's what we're talking about. So the coloring books, so you see some of them I've been kind of playing with. These are really fun if you like the big-eyed art. Paper quality is great. They're a little more expensive than Hannah Carlzon's, but the quality is really nice. Even though it's a soft cover, it's really nice and sturdy. Let's see if I have anything that I finished in here. We have one that Vincent's finished. So this is all line art. There's no grayscale in this. Love that one. I can't wait to color that one. Here's the Dragonfly Mermaid I finished. So it's hard to tell in the camera, but the water is colored in. Oh, here's the Crown of Air and Water. I did that one as well. So this is really nice. It's not, I was looking at this camera. It's not as detailed as her paintings, but it does really let you get into it, and you can really work with layering, especially for skin tone. Her pieces are really nice. I just wanted to see if there's and so she has a mermaids one, a fairies one, and a Halloween one. The Halloween one is pretty much my favorite, but I pulled the mermaids one out because I think, you know, no matter what type of mythical creature you like, you can kind of enjoy her mermaid artwork. Raven Feelin's Dragons and Dragonkin. A lot of the, I'm just started working on this one. You can see right here. So a lot of these images are taken from various decks that she's participated in by Lucy Cavendish, but also the Gaia, Dreams of Gaia Tarot. There's images from here. You got some small ones you can play around with. And these were, I feel like 16. Really great quality paper. And the soft cover is really sturdy, which is nice to carry, you know, with you while you're traveling. So those are some options to kind of start with as you're getting to know what type of coloring books you want to have most of in your collection, and if kind of portraiture and that type of thing calls to you. So now I'm going to get into the more investment coloring books. Before I do that, except Xan Vaughn says I'm going to show you, because she's one of my favorite artists to color her pieces of. That was incorrect English, I apologize. Her books are very inexpensive on Amazon, but I have done a great deal of work. I have a great deal of finished work of her artwork, and they're among my favorites. So her books are grouped in with my absolute favorites. This is a finished piece from the Grimm fairy tales. So you can see that I work a lot with various forms of shading and contrast, and I like the portraiture. I like the human depictions. This is Santa Muerta. This is by Anise Guerrero, and this is from the Coloring Heaven books. This was the Halloween edition, which is from the UK, and I paid to get shipped over here. This is a finished Xan Vaughn Z. So, and on the outside here I used watercolor. And then I faded it in with colored pencil. You can see that I went over a little bit here. I don't worry about stuff like that because at some point I'll trim that down and you know, I'll be able to frame it if I want to. But you know, you can see some things are lost in the camera, but like her eyes are this kind of fluorescent green color there. So here's another example of shading. That's a finished Xan Vaughn Z. This was like a Jean Harlow girl that I did from Xan Vaughn Z. I really wanted her to look like Jean Harlow in the 30s. You can tell I have a thing for blue hair and was really working a lot with shading and the way light hits hair naturally. And so Vincent names the girls after I finish coloring them for me. This is a Xan Vaughn Z as well. This one was Sina the Herbal Apothecary. Then we have some Vincent ones. This is actually Crayola colored pencils for a lot of this, and then Prismacolors to finish off. So you can see that there is a difference, but you can definitely still work really well with the Prismacolors. So there's a mermaid. This is a Star Maiden, that's what Vincent named her. Butterfly Queen, we called her. So you see that there's some blue shading around the eye. You can see what I've been trying to work with coloring. A lot of blues, of course. And there's that one. So this tends to be the type of style that I prefer. This is Alice. So that was more of a faded, a muted tone. This is from Grimm Fairy Tales as well. I felt like she was kind of a depiction of Santa Muerta, so I spent a while working with her. This is actually a watercolor coloring book, and I used alcohol markers, and then I used colored pencil to fill in, but you can see that there's a lot of tooth to the paper because it's watercolor, so the colored pencils reacted differently than it will with a flat. There's a dryad, forest nymph. Let's see if there's anything else in here I think you might like to see. That's pretty much it. So that tends to be the type of finished work that I personally enjoy doing. And I'm going to start my favorites with two newer acquisitions for me. And then I'm going to get into the ones that everybody's been asking about. So these are Anastasia L.A. Coldareva coloring books. These are two, I kind of consider them as being part of a series. Mysteria is the first one, and then there's Nocturnes. I have to order these, so first of all, spiral bound, which is awesome for coloring, because you can fold it over, you can carry it with you, you can go from wherever to wherever. If you're coloring in bed, or you're coloring on the couch, or you want to take it with you somewhere, it makes it really easy. I have to order these from Korea, so the coloring book itself is around 30 bucks and shipping is around 20. So I just want to be really upfront with you that these are investment coloring books. So you might want to try some cheaper options while you discover your personal style of coloring. These are all round portraits and feature a lot of different that's really picking up very well. Florals and different fish and animals and nature-based things, as you can see here. The really great thing about L.A. Coldareva too is that she also features different ethnicities, which means that you can really practice your layering and your colors for picking up the wide variety of skin tones that there are out there, which is really fun as a colorist because that's what we're working with when we're doing skin tones, is layering color. So you can see that there's So this is what we would consider, there's a level of grayscale going on here because she's done shading in here for you. So she's given you some help. Explore lots of different, I love this one. See that? And she's got the pollen in her earrings. I won't show you everything so you can be surprised if you, but I will show you there's one that I've started in here. I started this one. As you can see. Also, it's hard with the camera. I lose a lot of the shading that I've done. I don't know if you can see that up close, but all in here is shaded, and I've got some kind of a natural blush going there for her, but so you can see that I'm working on that piece there. So, and you can see it's also a really nice size book. Paper quality is awesome, one-sided, so you can use whatever type of medium you want. It is an investment piece. It is limited stock when you do purchase it. So it is something where if you want multiples, then you're probably going to want to do that at the time that you purchase the first one. You don't want to waste any time. So this is the second one, which is called Nocturnes. This is all nighttime stuff. Right, this, can you see that? There we go. So, do that. So these are not round portraiture. These fill the page in square. But these are all night beings. Got lots of interesting textures to play with the hair. Beautiful, you know, just different aspects to explore. This one, out of the two, this one is my favorite, not surprisingly because it's the nighttime one. But I love both of them, and my intention will be to color everything in them. This is the bat one. I'm super excited to work on that one. But I'm very, very conscious of taking my time. Here's a tarantula. Here's an owl. They're beautiful. Because I really, really value this artwork. It's an investment. This is my current one that I'm working on. This is ombre hair, and in my mind she is a vampire Marie Antoinette. So that's what I'm working on there, you can see. So when I'm talking about the contrast here, do you see what I'm working on with the eyes? They're outlined in black. The white highlight is kept from the grayscale, and I'm playing with reds and pinks here to really pull out the contrast. So this is what, when I'm coloring, this is what I'm working on. And I'm going to, hopefully at the end of this, I will attach some photos of my work in progress aspects with this so that you can see kind of how the layering works for me. It's a very serious and long process, so I don't color quickly. Okay, and again, those are by Anastasia Coldereva, and they're investment pieces. Please be prepared that you're going to be spending money on them, which is why for me it was really great to start with Xan Vaughn Zeds and Hannah Lynn and Hannah Carlzon and Kirby, and really get a feel for like, okay, what do I actually want to invest in with coloring? This is Moon Blossoms, again also purchased from South Korea on Etsy. So this is a much darker toned coloring book, and my intention is to use a lot of alcohol-based markers and layering with this one. Excuse me. So this is by Katrina Palin. It's Moon Blossoms coloring book, and this I believe I got from 77 East Books or Cool Craft color books. I'll put the links below. That one is really special. This is probably my most cherished coloring book ever. It's Serene by Nicholas Chandranetta. I believe he's also under Nick Gilbert. This is a signed edition. Again, purchased in South Korea as well. The artwork, I have all of his coloring books. And actually I have some of the images on my wall right now in front of the video camera. So you'll see these are stunning. The paper is incredible. There's nothing, it's my favorite type of paper to work with. And these I really approach with care and honor, and I really plot out before I do anything color-wise with these, and some of them I'm saving till I really can improve my layering abilities and my contrast, so that I can get better and better. Sometimes you can find this on Amazon, you're never going to get it cheaper than $40, and you're going to pay shipping if you're getting it from South Korea, so please just be aware of that. And you'll see lots of this one I can't wait to work on. I really want to make pops and pops of color on that one. This was a practice one because I didn't love this image. It's the only image I didn't like in the coloring book, so I was practicing with my Prismas to see what kind of contrast I could get and how much color pigment would show up. And so that's like that's just basically a practice because I wasn't attached to how that one came out. There's that. But you can see, there's this one. I can't wait to do this one too. You can see how much detail goes into the grayscale work and the line art. And you're going to spend a long time working on these images. Unless you're just gonna, you know, cover, and this one's beautiful too. And go. You know, if you're really gonna spend time with it, these are ones that I had on my wall in Portland, and I have another one up here. But lots and lots of layering. He works with archetypes and goddesses and various things like that, and you really get a feel for that in this book. So this is Serene. This is my most treasured. Deeply, deeply love that one. I highly recommend that one for quality across the board, but it's an investment coloring book. You're going to spend a lot of money on it, so you do want to think about what you're going to be crafting color-wise, art-wise with it. You know, what I have found as a colorist is like having a color theme for each piece really helps me. And that goes from, you know, soup to nuts, the entire process. What's my main color theme? What's my contrast to that? What's underneath that? What's complementing that? That kind of thing. So Coloring Heaven, again, this is from the UK. And these I purchase when I see one I love, and then I have to pay to get it shipped here. And they usually feature various artists that are really popular in the coloring community, and they give you a chance to try them out before you decide if you want to purchase a full book or not. So this one was like Selena Fennick, Molly Harrison, and then Anise Guerrero, which you saw the Santa Muerta one I did, which I love her artwork. And I'm sorry, Lisa Mitrokin as well. This is hers. She's got a more natural style than some of the other ones. And then I'm going to show you the Anise Guerrero ones because those are why I actually bought this whole series. So let me just go through. Okay. So one-sided, which is really awesome because that lets you use any type of medium you want. Paper quality is gorgeous. I love that one. Let's see that. It's a Gray Witch. Show you that one. That. So this is considered grayscale. this one. And I don't get every copy of this magazine or periodical, whatever you want to call it. But there's a witch, like that one. Her artwork reminds me of Victoria Francis a lot. But you can color the actual cover as well. It's actually colorable, which is kind of cool. But the ones that really call to me, I do get. I've always found them to be absolutely worth the purchase and the investment. Like I said, the quality just speaks for itself. And the Halloween special, I always get. I have quite a few of those from the last couple of years. This one you actually can get on Amazon as well. This is Camilla Dorico's Pop Manga. She also has a mermaids one. Really, the cover, you can take this front piece off and actually color it yourself as well. If you're someone who likes manga, you can see Vincent colored this one. Didn't he do a really good job? Then you'll really enjoy this one. There's like all these little creatures, and it's very pretty. And I just want to kind of show you her face so you can see that. You know, big eye art, which I always love. The girls are really lovely on this. Paper quality is gorgeous. I think I've been working on one piece in here. Yep, I did this forest one. So it was like a fall Fruity Pebbles girl. So this one's really beautiful. This you can get on Amazon, so you won't be paying a great deal for shipping. There's bees and lots of different nature things with portraiture, which is really beautiful. This is a Karolina Kubakowska. I know I'm going to butcher her name, and it's in Russian. It's in Russian, so I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce the name of this one. I actually have her artwork on some of her grayscale pieces from this coloring book in front of my downstairs altar. I love her artwork. I purchased a second copy of this because it's really hard to find, and it's just so beautiful. So there's all sorts of writing and beautiful things in it. It's all in another language. You can see that this is the page that I had pulled out. And she has a few different coloring books. I only have this one. I have 2 copies of it. Isn't that beautiful? It's well worth it. The grayscale is gorgeous. This one I do not pull pages out of even as I finish them, because, and you'll see that I've done some pieces here, I don't want to lose the integrity of the book itself. So this one is stunning. This costs a pretty penny wherever you get it. Last time when I purchased my second edition, I found it through 77 or 70 East Books. I'll put the link below. Sometimes she has it, sometimes she does not. Really beautiful artwork in this one. You can see I've played with some different colored pencil brands with this as well. So that one is absolutely gorgeous. These are Momo Girls. So one of them is Momo Girl music and one is Momo Girl poetry. This is Momo Girl with music, I believe. This one is Momo Girl poetry. These were like a huge hit in the coloring community online, and so I just have my name signed in there. You can see she's done some samples colored for you, so you can see what you can create there. It's all in another language, clearly, but the quality is insane. You know, the images are just beautiful. And so these you can usually find through either of the Etsy sellers I typically go through. And Coloring Heaven did a special with her artwork. So they're very like youthful, mainly portraiture. There's some floral pieces to play with. Very, very lovely. There may be one that I've worked on coloring in here that's mixed media. These I really save because they have been such an investment. Look, isn't this one gorgeous? So again, working with grayscale here. I had colored one in here, but maybe not. And this is the Momo Girl with music. So maybe it's this one that I colored in. And she has some black background in here. This one I was really excited about because, oh, I know where I colored it. Never mind, you're not going to see it because I colored it in the Coloring Heaven one. So I was practicing. I got the Coloring Heaven one because I wanted to have a practice. These are finished ones that you can use as inspiration. Because I wanted to have a practice one where I didn't ruin the actual copies. I don't like to make photocopies of my coloring pages because I do actually really believe in supporting artists' work, and I prefer to pay them if I'm going to make a copy, not just make endless copies off of a book. I don't know, I just feel like for most artists, it's hard enough to make a living doing something that you love, and so I prefer to, you know, feel like I'm really supporting my artists by purchasing from them. So that's just a personal thing. I know some people don't have any issue with that at all. But as you get farther along, the book gets darker. And you get these really interesting pieces, and then we have, like, I can't wait to color that one. Where the background, she's blacked the background out for you, and the grayscale is really intense, so you can really work with your colors here, the intensity. You can play with different mediums. And then she has smaller renditions of the larger ones here so that you can play with that as well. This one's my favorite of the two. If I had to only get one, it would be Momo Girl with music. As a side point, okay. So Xan Vaughn has 4 coloring books out right now. She calls them the Ladies of Leisure series. It sounds naughty or dirty, whichever way you want to go with that. But they're not really. Anybody can color with them. Like I said, I showed you a bunch of my finished ones from her work. Her grayscales are my favorite. I have everyone, and I have multiples of every single copy. They're one-sided, which is really nice. Quality of the paper, because you're getting it on Amazon, is really poor, and so you have to be very careful with what you're using for products. But especially if you're just starting to color, starting to work with human figures and shading and detailing, etc., these are really nice because they're inexpensive. The grayscale's done some of the work for you. It's getting you comfortable with shading and contrast. And it can just be something like, there's a doll that you can cut out at the end of that one. It can just be something light and enjoyable. This is the line art, so there's no grayscale in this one. You can see the difference. You're in charge of shading and the skin tone. You're in charge of really creating the contrast. So if you prefer line art or grayscale, you have options as well. I just like grayscale a great deal, so most of my pieces tend to be grayscale. But this is Xan Vaughn. Like I said, she's probably my most favorite to color when I just want something relaxing and enjoyable that's not too stressful or that I don't have to think too much about. So now we're going to move on to the ones that people were really interested in. So besides Serene, excuse me, by Nicholas Gilbert or Nicholas Chandrawanetta, Irene is another one of his, and this one is grayscale as well, and very intensely, finely detailed. So this one I will be working with very gently. That's another investment piece that you can find on Etsy only, I believe. Okay, so now we get into my Asian coloring books, which are the ones everybody has been asking me about. And honestly, I cannot tell you what country these are from specifically. I purchased them from South Korea on Etsy for my two ladies. And they're like Drunken Flowers or Drunken something, these two. But I will put the link for what she has available by them now, so you can see it's all in different languages. The paper quality is delicious. You have to kind of like manga and big art pictures, or big eye art pictures, big eye art. Here's one that I've been working on with peonies, as you can see, starting the shading process there. And because they're such an investment, you know, you also have to understand that you want to be kind of mapping things out before you start, really, unless you don't care if you kind of create as you go or maybe have to abandon something. But this paper quality is awesome and can stand up to multiple various mediums. There's also a clear story being told throughout these books, which I really appreciate as well. This is another one. This one I haven't started any work in because, so at the beginning they give you miniatures of each. You know, some of these are not available right now, so I might not be able to put a link in for you, but at least I'll put a link into something similar. So if you're like, I really want to explore coloring that, you definitely can. There's a little bit of a love story in this one. So you get to also like color some guys. Usually it's all girls. We've got some dudes going on in here, which is kind of nice. This is an Asian fairy tale coloring book. So it's like retelling of various Grimm fairy tales. And you can see that I've been kind of mapping out color-wise what I want to do here. So really beautiful. You can get into some geometric shapes and work like that. Pomegranate instead of an apple there. You know, retelling of the Little Mermaid. I specifically got these for the Alice in Wonderland aspect. This binding, it's such a nice sturdy binding. The paper quality is just gorgeous. Where is the Alice is in here somewhere. And you've got a little bit more. This is the Alice, yeah. So basically what was featured on the cover. And then, yeah, so you can play with the geometric shapes in a lot of the pictures, a lot of the artwork depictions. And then at the end they have some sample ones colored in for you so you can get some inspiration or some help if you're like, I don't know how to shade there, or I'm concerned about how to set that up. Okay, so that's this one. Really beautiful, so well made. Okay, my last one. This is the most requested one. I saw this on Dee Dee Willingham's YouTube, I must have been February, and I purchased it immediately. It was not cheap. I'm not gonna lie to you. If you want this, you're going to pay for it. It's worth every single cent that you spend on it. It's Find Color by Gugeli, G-U-G-E-L-I. This artist, she's a female. Oh my God, I can't wait to dive into it. The paper is unlike any other coloring book paper that I have ever worked with, and I will be purchasing a second copy of this. I'm gonna push this down for you when I can, because the artwork is incredible. It comes with a poster, which I have in my closet. on the wall for inspiration. I mean, so this is all considered grayscale. It is so gorgeous. Even if you don't color, it's like you want it just to look at the artwork. It is so beautiful. And there's also an artwork, a book available of her finished artwork from the seller on Etsy as well. So the paper is in between watercolor paper and fine art paper, which means that you can really push your mediums. Just remember, alcohol-based markers are going to go through, and there's artwork on both sides. So that, for me, in this book is a no-no, because I want to color everything in this book, and it's huge. Look at how much you're getting for you know, I think I paid $70 with shipping. That's a lot of money, but this is a hobby that I really enjoy, and it's also collecting artwork for me too. Some of these will end up on my wall, whether I color them or they're just on the wall in grayscale. Look at that. So I've shown you, I'm going to skip a couple so that if you're looking to purchase this, you still feel like you can get surprised a bit. But the detail, the craftsmanship, it is incredible. I'm going to skip through a bunch here so we don't. And again, we also get some men to color as well. We've got dragons in here. All kinds of just glorious, glorious, marvelous, beautiful artwork in here. This one is beautiful too. Sorry, it's Bike Week here in New Hampshire. Look at that one. So this one's kind of the crowning glory in my collection. Yes, Vincent, it's Bike Week. So this is like the kind of the crowning glory, my most prized possession. I would say after this comes Serene and Irene. This book is just stunning, and it's wonderful. It's just magical. I can't wait to start working in it. I just really want to approach it with a lot of intention and caution, because I don't want to fuck up a page. That would just kill me. So, you know, mindless coloring versus something like this, I really structure my color palette. I'm really thinking about my theme. I'm really working with layering, being very, very cautious to go in very, very gently with my colored pencils, not apply too much pressure. Those kind of things are important when you're working with something at this scale if you want to create more of an artistic piece than just mindless relaxation coloring. Let's see. I think that pretty much sums up everything that I was asked about for the you know, for my coloring peeps who wanted to see my collection, etc. It's something that's really grown for me over the years, and it's a way that I've allowed myself to start to express myself creatively and artistically, and it's been very healing for me, just from healing from various aspects of my childhood, etc. It's also a great stress reliever, unless you get too into doing something perfectly, so that's definitely a balance thing. But there's also lots of options for you to explore in different ways to hone your craft too, so it's a lot of fun that way. So there'll be lots of links below, and I will try to splice in with this photos of that work in progress piece for the Marie Antoinette one, so you can see what it's like kind of working with creating that as I go, working with different layering pieces and palettes and skin tone and hair, etc., etc. So I hope that this is helpful for my coloring peeps. Thank you for requesting it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye. So you can see here that I started the ombre hair with beam color from Prismacolor's colored pencils, and then went in with the darker red, and you can also see the contrast in the eyes that I added. So I had hoped to make some more progress on that Vampire Marie Antoinette piece today and be able to show you more work in progress with that, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. However, you could see from the two photos that I started with a cream Prismacolor ombre into a pink and a deep kind of fuchsia red tone. And that the eyes, I started with a contrast with reds and pinks and the contrast of black around the outside to really help the eye pop. So hopefully you can see that, you know, by going slowly, taking your time, playing with different mediums, and you know, really working on light layering, you can create and build a very, at least close to, or an idea of, an approximation of a lifelike look for your portraiture coloring books. I hope you all have enjoyed this. I know this is a super long video, but I really don't intend to make any more videos on this. Like I said several times already, a coloring channel is not in the works for me. But I hope if you are a follower and you asked me to make this video, that this kind of gives you the clarity that you were looking for. And as always, much love, many blessings, guys. See you in the next video.